Hello and welcome to the Street Crime UK YouTube channel. Please don't forget to like, share, comment and subscribe. Today we're going to take a look into the history of HM Prison Littlehey. HM Prison Littlehey is a Category C male prison in the village of Perry near Huddington in Cambridgeshire, England. Littlehey Prison is operated by Her Majesty's Prison Service. The prison only holds those that have been convicted of a sexual offence. The site was originally known as Gaines Hall Youth Custody Centre and was used as a borstal for juvenile males from 1945 to 1983, when the establishment was closed and demolished. Littlehey was built in its place and opened as an integrated Category C prison for adult males in 1988. In April 2003, an inspection report from Her Majesty's Chief Inspector of Prisons criticised Littlehey Prison for not helping inmates integrate back into society. The report found that prisoners needed more help with finding jobs and accommodation before their release, but noted positively that the staff had good relationships with the prisoners and were doing better managing the healthcare of the prisoners. Littlehey is a purpose-built Category C prison for adult males. The accommodation at Littlehey comprises of 8 residential units, 2 of which are ready-to-use units, one added in 1997 and the second in 2003. Most cells are single occupancy, but there are some shared cells. Littlehey Prison reports that it provides a range of work provisions for inmates, including accredited vocational training course in forklift trucks, carpentry, joinery, motor mechanics, hospitality and education. Classes range from basic and key skills to degree level learning. In January 2010, HMP Littlehey opened a large expansion to its current site to accommodate a population of up to 480 young offenders. This investment has allowed for the addition of 4 new accommodation blocks, an all-weather sports pitch, and a gymnasium, adult learning and kitchen buildings. The regime claims to focus on providing young offenders with a portfolio of skills and qualifications to change their futures. Employability and functional skills are said to be the centre of the establishment's drive towards reducing reoffending. There is also a prisoner visitor centre, which is operated by the Ormiston Children and Family Trust. In January 2011, a disturbance at the prison left 2 prison officers injured. In 2014, the prison was recategorised to accommodate prisoners convicted of sex offences, falling within the Category C security level. In 2015, reports from the Independent Monitoring Board observed that HMP Littlehey had an unusually high population of inmates over the age of 50. It was 34% at the time. Concerns were raised over the lack of provisions for elderly and disabled prisoners, and reports have emerged of inmates struggling with wheelchair access and not receiving support for health problems such as incontinence. In 2018, it was found that there were serious problems over outstanding maintenance work. 1,300 maintenance jobs were outstanding in January 2018. Some showers had been out of action for 2 years, and some prisoners were without heating for 8 months. Prison officers sent disproportionate time dealings with maintenance problems. Trust between prisoners and staff had broken down because staff could not meet the prisoners' basic needs. Andrew Nielsen of the Howard League for Penal Reform said, "The lamentable conditions in Littlehey are indicative of the pressures that exist in our now overburdened and under-resourced prison system. No prison should be allowed to deteriorate in this way, but it is particularly shocking in a jail where around half of the prisoners are over 50 and a significant number are elderly and disabled." In 2019, HMIP inspected the prison, and overall, despite some criticisms, the report reflects some good findings and some excellent outcomes for prisoners at Littlehey. Prison had a clearly defined function and held a suitable number of elevated risk men in safe and respectful conditions. Prisoners benefited from a very good daily regime, and we saw examples of good practice. Going forward, the prisoners' main priorities are to access and reduce the risk of prisoners it holds, and to prepare those being released for successful resettlement into the community. Former notable inmates at the prison are Barry Bennell, Max Clifford, Stephen Darwin and Alex Hepburn. Accommodation in HMP Littlehey comprises of the following wing: A wing, which is a general population wing; B wing, which is also a general population wing; C wing, which is a community wing run on rehabilitative culture principles; D wing, which is a general population wing; E wing, which is the induction unit; F wing, which is the progression unit for enhanced residents. G Wing is also a progression unit for enhanced residents. H Wing, which is accredited with enabling environments. I Wing, which is an elderly unit with support. J Wing, which is also an elderly unit with support. K Wing, which is the general population. And L Wing, which is also the general population. M Wing is the indeterminate sentence for public protection IPP unit. Wings A to H are on the original site and are referred to locally as Lakeside. Wings I to L are on the newer site and are referred to locally as Woodlands. The regime includes offending behaviour programs including enhanced thinking skills, sex offender treatment program, the 12 steps drug program, and A to Z motivational courses. The prison strives to support release plans through effective sentence planning and support resettlement through the Foundation Training Company Program, Job Centre Plus, and Narco. Support through buddies to combat bullying, and listeners to support those at risk from suicide and self-harm, and race equality officers to assist with diversity issues. Prison addresses drug misuse of prescribed and illicit drugs within the establishment as a whole. There is a carrots team and a wrapped program, as well as extensive VDT program. HMP Littlehey has a Type 2 healthcare facility with healthcare services commissioned by the PCT and course nursing staff being provided by the prison service. It is unsuitable for these prisoners requiring 24 care. There are 2 healthcare departments, one for each side of the establishment to meet the needs of both young offenders and Category C prisoners. Mental health in-reach services are provided by Peterborough and Cambridgeshire NHS Foundation Trust. GP services are provided by Medacs, combined with the wide variety of nurse-led, pharmacy-led clinics. Additionally, on-site specialist services include dentistry, optometry, podiatry, and physiotherapy. Services normally delivered in the secondary care such as genitourinary medication, ENT, dermatology are all provided within the establishment. HMP Littlehey works in partnership through a multi-agency approach to provide safe, decent and constructive regime that challenges offender behaviour, reduces reoffending and prevents further victims. To do this, they provide a wide range of work provisions including accredited vocational courses in carpentry, joinery, motor mechanics, hospitality, ICT, educational classes ranging from basic to key skill and degree level learning. Work is offered in the workshops in orderly positions throughout the position. The education is provided by Milton Keynes College. HMP Littlehey was inspected in August 2019 and in their report the inspectors had this to say. Located near Huddington in Cambridgeshire, Littlehey is a Category C training prison holding up to 1,220 adult male prisoners with a specialist function and holding men from across the country. The prison is one of a very small number that holds only those convicted of a sexual offence, and as such the profile of prisoners held is very unusual. 44% of prisoners were serving lengthy sentences between 4 and 10 years, with over a third serving more than 10 years. Around 150 prisoners were serving intermediate sentences, including life. Among the population, nearly half were over the age of 50, and of all those held, some 78% presented a high risk or very high risk of harm. When we inspected Littlehey in 2015, we found a prison that was both safe and respectful, but where outcomes in purposeful activity and rehabilitation and release plannings were insufficiently good. At this inspection, we were pleased to find that outcomes in safety and respect remained good and had improved in purposeful activity, but disappointingly remained insufficient in the important test of rehabilitation. Littlehey continued to be an overwhelmingly safe prison. New prisoners were received well into the prison and helped to settle. The prison was calm and prisoners reported to us that they felt very safe. Very little violence was recorded and a culture that incentivized good behaviour helped greatly. There had been some increase in some use of force, but oversight was satisfactory and the use of segregation had decreased since our last inspection. The segregation regime was also much better, with reintegration actively supported. Security arrangements were proportionate and the use of illicit drugs remained low. Self-harm had increased in recent years, but again remained low. There had tragically been one self-inflicted death since our last visit, but care for those in crisis was generally very good. In our survey of prisoners, the majority indicated that they felt respected by staff and the interactions we observed were relaxed, although not always particularly proactive. They were improving, however, following the successful induction of the key worker scheme. The internal and external areas of the prison were clean and well maintained, although some overcrowding and ongoing problems with heating systems were significant issues. Access to kit and other amenities was good, as was the quality of food. General consultation arrangements were also good, and while the promotion of equality had weaknesses, outcome for prisoners across the most protected characteristics were reasonably equitable. Prisoners were positive in their views about quality and healthcare they received. Time out of cell for most prisoners in full-time activity was good, although we found a surprisingly high 17% locked in cell during the workday. There was sufficient activity for all, but allocation arrangements were inflexible and unresponsive. The quality and range of education, training and work was good, and prisoners could gain qualifications up to level 3. Many made satisfactory progress, and were clearly engaged and motivated. Our colleagues of Ofsted judged the overall effectiveness of educational skills and work to be good, and physical education was very impressive. The area where outcomes were weakest were in the rehabilitation and release planning. The promotion of family ties needed improvement. About half of prisoners did not have an up-to-date offender assessment system, OASIS assessment, many having arrived without such an assessment. This was concerning given the high level of risk the population presented. Contact between offender supervisors and prisoners was inconsistent and often reactive, with very little one-to-one sentence planning work taking place. There was also quite limited opportunity for those prisoners who did not meet the threshold for participation in the offender behaviour programs. Those who were eligible could normally access the programs prior to release. Public protection arrangements were not sufficiently robust, and the prison had only recently introduced resettlement initiatives capable of supporting sufficiently the approximately 30 men discharged each month. Overall, and despite some criticisms, this report reflects some very good findings and some excellent outcomes for prisoners at Littlehey. The prison had a clearly defined function and held a substantial number of elevated risked men in safe and respectful conditions. Prisoners benefited from the very good daily regime, and we saw examples of good practice. Going forward, the prison's main priorities are to access and reduce the risk of prisoners it holds, and to prepare those being released for successful resettlement into community. This report was made by Peter Clark, CVO OBE QPM, on July 2019. Cameron Khan, who was 39, had begun blackmailing a man at HMP Littlehey in 2018. The prisoner blackmailed a fellow inmate into transferring thousands of pounds into his mother's bank account and intimidated the victim when demands for more failed. Cameron Khan, who was 39, began blackmailing the man at HMP Littlehey after an incident where the latter's son was assaulted near his workplace. The victim, a man in his 40s, had not told anyone in the prison about the assault when Khan approached him and asked about his son's welfare. In August 2018, Khan told the victim if he didn't give him £2,000, his son would be attacked again. The man was given the bank details of Budar Mahmood, Mr. Khan's mother, and told to make the transfer. The victim organised the bank transfer, but then, in October 2018, Mr. Khan demanded a further £5,000 and suggested the man's wife would be attacked if he did not comply. When the man asked for more time to complete the transfer, Mr. Khan intimidated the man in an attempt to make him comply. Mr. Khan, who is currently serving an 8-year sentence for indecent assault and false imprisonment, was previously living in Bolton and had denied the 2 charges of blackmail. Miss Mahmood, who was 62 of Netherfield Road, Bolton, also denied acquiring criminal property. However, they were found guilty on the charges following a trial at Cambridge Crown Court in November. On May the 20th, at Peter Crown Court, Mr. Khan was ordered to serve an additional 2 years and 10 months in prison, and Miss Mahmood was handed an 18-month community order and told to complete 30 hours of rehabilitation activity. DC John Whitworth said Mr. Khan used intimidation as he attempted to exploit victims for his own financial gain. The victim in this case was terrified about the consequences of not complying. He only felt able to come forward when he confided in another prisoner, who persuaded him to speak out about what had happened. There was also another incident of a sexual assault on a female member of staff at HMP Littlehey. Liam McCarthy was found shirtless and on top of a female prison officer. The man, who was convicted of sexually assaulting a member of hospital staff, had admitted trapping a female prison officer in his cell and attacking her. Liam McCarthy, who was 28, grabbed the officer by the throat and barricaded her in his cell at HMP Littlehey in Cambridgeshire. Guards forced their way in and found him shirtless on top of the woman. He has now had 2 years and 8 months added to his sentence for false imprisonment and actual bodily harm. Appearing at Peterborough Crown Court via video link from HMP Wakefield, where he was moved to following the assault, he pleaded guilty to both charges. Mr. McCarthy was jailed for 12 years for rape in 2016 after, as an outpatient, he followed a female member of staff of Birmingham City Hospital into a staff toilet and attacked her, threatening to kill her if she cried out. The prison officer he attacked had only recently completed training, and the assault occurred during a routine cell check at the jail. Mr. McCarthy used the wardrobe and other items to barricade her in his cell after choking her. It is believed at some point during the attack she lost consciousness or was knocked out. The officer was treated for bruising by medical staff at HMP Littlehey, which holds about 1,200 inmates, mainly sex offender and rapists. Detective Constable Tom Nuttall from Cambridgeshire Police said, "This vicious attack could have continued had the victim's colleagues not intervened." Mr. McCarthy was sentenced to an extra 32 months in jail for falsely imprisoning an officer, to be served consecutively to his current jail term. He was sentenced to 12 months for assaulting the officer, causing her actually bodily harm, which is to be served concurrently as well. Thank you for joining us today. What are your opinions of HMP Littlehey? Please let us know what you think in the comments below. Thank you for joining us today. If you enjoyed this content, please don't forget to like and share. And if you're new to the channel and you want to see more Street Crime UK content, hit subscribe and press that bell so you can join us on the next video. Thank you for joining us, and until next time, stay safe.